One is called torrid zone. The second is called temperate zone. And the other is called frigid zone. Zone means area. Torrid means very hot. Torrid means very hot. Temperate means moderate. Frigid means very cool. So we know equator is 0 degree latitude, and then we have 2 or 3 more major latitudes on both the sides, isn't it? Yes, here we have a 23.5 degree north latitude. Here we have a 66.5 degree north latitude, and this is a 90 degree north, isn't it? The bottom also we have a 23.5 degree south latitude and a 66.5 degree south latitude, and this is a 90 degree south latitude, isn't it? So this one 0 degree is known as a equator. Then 23.5 degree north latitude is known as a Tropic of Cancer. And 23.5 degree south latitude is known as a Tropic of Capricorn. Okay, so the area that lies in between Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn along with the equator is called the torrid zone. Okay, so what is a torrid zone? The areas on either sides of equator up to Tropic of Cancer in the northern hemisphere and the Tropic of Capricorn in the southern hemisphere is known as the torrid zone. Okay, so what do you mean by the torrid zone? The torrid zone is the hottest zone on the surface of Earth. It lies around the equator. This region receives the sunlight directly from the sun and is one of the hottest region in that area. Okay, and this lies in between the 23.5 degree north latitude to 23.5 degree south latitude, from the Tropic of Cancer to the Tropic of Capricorn through the equator, right? So this region receives a high amount of direct sunlight and it is the hottest area. Okay, now above Tropic of Cancer and below Tropic of Capricorn. So here 66.5 degree north latitude is known as an Arctic Circle, isn't it? And 66.5 degree south latitude is known as an Antarctic Circle, isn't it? The Arctic Circle and the Antarctic Circle. So in between the Arctic Circle and the Tropic of Cancer, there is an area. Okay, I am now shading that particular area so that you can easily identify that. Right? So this area in between Tropic of Cancer and the Arctic Circle and the Tropic of Capricorn and the Antarctic Circle is an area. Okay, this area and this area. So they receive moderate sunshine. It's not too hot as it is on the torrid region, but less heater. Okay, it's not that hot as the sun rays that falls on the torrid zone. So the regions above Tropic of Cancer and Arctic Circle in the northern hemisphere and Tropic of Cancer and Antarctic Circle in the southern hemisphere receives moderate sunshine. It's neither too hot nor too cool. Okay, so this region is something that receives temperate zone. What do we call it? A temperate zone. So where do we have temperate zones? In the northern hemisphere, we have temperate zones in between Arctic Circle and the Tropic of Cancer. And the southern hemisphere, we have a Tropic of Capricorn and the Antarctic Circle. Because these regions receive comparatively less sun rays than the torrid zone. Okay. Now, in between the Arctic Circle and the North Pole, this region, and Antarctic Circle and the South Pole, it's very cold. It's so cold that you can hardly have any sunlight over there. Okay, so those regions are very cold, and that region is known as a frigid zone. Okay, so the coldest regions which are around the north and the south poles are known as a frigid zone because they do not receive much sunlight and is very cold. See, as we travel away from the equator, either north or south, the climate changes, isn't it? Huh? Yeah, it's very hot along the equator, and as we move north or south, the intensity of the heat decreases and it becomes very cold by the time we reach the polar regions. Okay, so that is how the distance from the equator plays a vital role in deciding the climate of a region. Okay, so the equator receives the maximum amount of sunlight, the hottest sun rays on the earth. It's very hot in this region, and as we go north and south, it decreases, it reduces and reaches very cold climatic conditions on the North Pole and South Pole. So based on this, we have three climatic zones: the torrid zones, the temperate zone, and the frigid zone. In between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, the 23.5 degree north and 23.5 degree south latitudes along the equator is the hottest regions, okay, which is called the torrid zone. In between Arctic Circle and the Tropic of Cancer in the northern hemisphere, Tropic of Capricorn and Antarctic Circle in the southern hemisphere, the sun rays are not that hot as it was in the torrid zone. So they receive moderate sunshine, and that is known as a temperate zone. Right? From the Arctic Circle to the North Pole, 90 degree North Pole, and the Antarctic Circle to the polar region, the Southern Pole, 90 degrees South. They hardly receive any sunshine during the daytime, and it is very cold. And as it is too cold, the region is known as a frigid zone. Okay, and this is how distance from this equator influences the climate or weather conditions of a region. Got it? Okay. Now, the second factor is altitude.